So I was on a briefing today that addressed the Alabama Supreme Court ruling that we got this week. I learned a lot about what it means, what it doesn't mean, and how it's going to affect us. I want to share it with you. It's really, really important, okay? Well, basically, the Alabama Supreme Court ruled in a case that involved fertility clinic and some embryos, frozen embryos that were dropped and rendered non-viable. Some couples sued, and they sued the clinic not just for, breaking their property. They sued them for wrongful death. And what happened was that this case made its way through the courts and ended up in the Alabama Supreme Court. And just this week, 8 justices, there was only 1 justice in the dissent, so 8 justices ruled that a frozen embryo has the same rights as a child under the law. And when this ruling came down, a lot of people really freaked out, and there's a reason for that. It's because this is the first time that any state Supreme Court has ruled in favor of what we call fetal personhood. Basically the idea that at the moment of conception, that embryo or blastocyst or whatever it's called is a person and has the same rights under the law. Why does fetal personhood freak us out? Well, aside from the fact that there's no scientific basis for it, there's no intellectual, philosophical basis for it, there's no basis for it, it is a Christian nationalist idea that is used to defend full abortion bans. So that is where we are going with this Alabama Supreme Court case. Full abortion bans with no exceptions, because of course once your embryo is a person, you can't justify any exceptions to an abortion. But it doesn't just stop there. It also most likely gets rid of IVF, and the people who were on this call with us said basically IVF is very likely over in Alabama and will very likely soon be over in other red states as well. In fact, they said if you have frozen embryos in Alabama or any red state, get them out if you can. This is moving very quickly and it's very scary. IVF likely going away in red states for now. And I really want to emphasize that if we lose that presidency in November, all bets are off, because Donald Trump is being run by Christian nationalists, the same very well-funded groups that are behind this and every other bad Supreme Court ruling we've had. They have got a master plan. I am not a conspiracy theorist, folks. This is happening. The Heritage Foundation, we know who the people are. These are also the people giving money to third-party candidates. It's all part of the same effort to get Donald Trump reelected so that fetal personhood, which was just ruled on in Alabama, becomes the law of the land. Now, they don't even have to pass that as a federal bill, because Donald Trump has already said, and the people writing Project 2025 have already said, they can get rid of most abortions using the Comstock Act, which is basically already on the books. And if fetal personhood, this idea that an embryo is a person, becomes accepted in high courts, then that gets much easier to do. So do you see where this is going? We're looking at a future with no abortion rights at all, under any circumstances, no access to most birth control, and no access to fertility treatments. And don't say that we're being hysterical. I was told I was hysterical when I said that Roe v. Wade was going to be overturned. Many of us were told that. It's very clear where this trajectory is going, and we are up against people who are very serious about executing it. So I never like to leave people just in despair. There is a solution, but it can only be executed if we are all paying attention. It is important to understand that what just happened in Alabama has national consequences. It'll start with that state. It'll radiate out to other red states who are going to imitate what is happening there. Fetal personhood just got a huge reinforcement. There are bills in various different states. Florida's efforts to quash the ballot measure there, they are going to use the Alabama Supreme Court's arguments to bolster their arguments in court. This is going to bleed out very quickly. But what it really is going to come down to is this presidential election. If Donald Trump takes office, he will open the floodgates for this to become the national law. They'll find ways to do it if they can't pass it in Congress. So you guys, I really want you to understand this is a frightening ruling. It's going to have immediate impacts on people seeking fertility treatments. I did IVF. That's why I'm a mother. So this hits very close to home, as do many of the things that are happening in this country right now. It's going to affect all of us. Unless you are a cis, white, Christian male, this is coming for you. There are more of us than there are of them, but they tend to pay more attention. So it is time for us to pay attention. It is time for us to flex our power, register to vote, and be ready to vote out every Republican everywhere you can. Because if we don't, what started in Alabama will become our national reality. And that's what I learned on the briefing.